I know there are many people out there who are considering buying a PVM rather than a consumer CRT, or they already have a consumer CRT and they are considering buying a PVM. Now, I've been experiencing this with a few months now. And the first question you're probably going to ask, why I actually bought a PVM. I also have other consumer CRT TVs. There are quite a few reasons. The first one, I think, and the most important thing is that I really liked how certain games look on a PVM. And this is regardless if it was intended to look like that or not, I just liked how it looked. Because the look is so distinctive compared to other consumer CRTs, especially on this size, if I didn't like how it looks, I probably wouldn't have gotten one. The other thing is connectivity, although not every connection I maybe like how it looks, but it is available. And I have a cable that converts from SCART RGB to BNC. I have composite and I have this video here. The other thing is that I really like that it less bloomy. Not that I don't like it when it's actually like that, but sometimes when I play long games like RPGs and I play for so many hours, I actually just like that it's more comfortable to view for a long period of time. Now, PVM were designed to be accurate and in terms of technology to prevent the bleeding. The next thing that I have great degree of control over the image. I don't need to open the TV or do something sophisticated that I don't know what to do. Everything is controlled either using the knobs or the buttons or the OSD. For example, I can control the color temperature, the brightness, the black level, the chroma, the phase, aperture, change from 16:9 to 4:3 and many other things. Aside from that, I can use several inputs at the same time and switch between them using the TV controls. I have great degree of control of the A size, V size, 8 cent, V cent, pin cushion, trapezoid, RGB cutoff, RGB gain, and so many other things. So why it's important? Well, many things. For example, if I connect PAL, for example, console instead of NTSC, and I want some control over the output. So if the image is not perfect, I can fine tune it. Even if you bought it, it is not service and it's not just perfect, you still have a great degree of control adjusting things yourself at home. Now, because this screen is so sharp, you want some degree of control things, just in case if you want something that is not like perfect in terms of sharpness. I had, for example, issue when I connected, I think, composite, and then I saw the sawtooth pattern. It was very easy to fix with this one, just going to the setting, and there was one thing I just needed to turn on, it was fixed. Now, if you get a good one, they can actually last you for a long time. The thing is that with PVMs, that it actually, you need to take into account that they were using television broadcasting, video editing, post-production, even medical imaging, in film production sets, security and surveillance. So they were actually active for a long time. So sometimes you're going to find PVM that because of that, they're actually in bad condition. The one that I got was actually serviced, and even the seller actually changed the tube because the other one actually had burn-in. So capacitor were replaced and everything was checked, clean, and they're going to get something that is most likely, if it's again in good condition in the first place, we're going to last you for a long time. Now, aside from that, I really like how it looks in terms of color reproduction and contrast. Although I'm repeating this again, there are games that I will no way want to play on a PVM, because games indeed were designed with certain imperfections, and in some games it's quite evident. So the thing is that I liked when I have the option to choose, so I wouldn't just have just PVM and that's it. I want also a consumer CRT TV. But for some games, I really enjoy playing like that. Like this game, for example, Doremi Fantasy. What more? Very high quality components. It also have thick metal chassis. And the components inside built to survive heat, especially those heat of server rooms, for example, or even movement on a film set, so they're very durable. Although it's worth mentioning that quality may vary and there are differences between one model or another, of course. Now, another thing I would say might be controversial, but well, that's why I feel that for certain games, because the PVM has, in this case compared to my other TVs, have a higher TVL, it gives some games kind of a unique retro modernized look. So you enjoy something in between, there's a classic game, but it looks unlike anything else that you've played before.
So it's kind of new, good looking way to actually experience games.
Also, blacks are very, very dark. Again, there's no bleeding here. Also, you have like perfect geometry here, no issues whatsoever. Although I'm not complaining even with my consumer CRT, which is the smaller one is also 14 inch, also looks great. Usually geometry issues you get with much larger CRTs, but for this type of display, for what they're used for, it's just mandatory that they won't have any geometry issues. Now, those who love those gap between the scan lines, just call it scan lines, it's very hard to see those when you have a small CRT. And if you prefer playing, may say, on a 14-inch display rather than going with 29-inch or something, just to see those lines on PVM, you can see them quite easily on even a 14-inch, like you see here. Now, also convergence is just perfect. This means that straight lines stay straight across the entire tube, and 3 electron guns for the RGB align more precisely and preventing any color, for example, color halos around objects and other issues. They also support multiple formats. They can adjust very well and very adaptable to off-spec signals. They support PAL, NTSC, and others. For example, I play both PAL games here and NTSC. By the way, if you see anything with the line moving, and just because of the recording and not anything with PVMs, or in this case, an issue with my screen, just the recording wasn't perfect because of the slight difference in terms of the refresh rate or the shutter speed and the refresh rate of the screen. So as you can see, there are many advantages that start from the way it looks and going through durability, flexibility, and supporting lots of different formats, refresh rate, and so on. And all of that without needing to even open the chassis to change something. But some, by the way, PVMs might be different than others, I'm just saying. So it's important to note ahead of time what you're actually buying and know that the features that you want actually exist on the PVM that you plan to buy. So is it a must? My personal answer will be no. But at the same time, it's you who will decide whether it's what you see is actually what you want to experience playing games, at least some of the games. Nobody can tell you otherwise. The fact that I'm enjoying playing some games more on a PVM is just a fact. I mean, I have both consumer TVs and a PVM, and I can just decide to play on each one of them. I like them both, but some I prefer just playing on the PVM, bottom line. Even the scanlines also lead for the image to look more contrasty, because that negative space, again, the scanlines, the gaps, creates an optical illusion of higher contrast and depth. Now, of course, there are ways to solve some other issues like connectivity, because there are different ways to convert certain signals to others, but it does require buying something else, and sometimes it's also not perfect and degrades or impair the output, the visuals compared to how it looks if you add it natively. I also really like, by the way, how the TV looks. It looks kind of sophisticated and nice, even kind of modern, I would say. I really like how it looks. Something that I can't really say that much on my other TVs. Now, many of these TV designed with mono speaker. This is why I have external stereo speakers with also an preamp to control the tone with an equalizer, and actually really love how it sounds now. But this is in no way is going to be for me, just one solution for everything. No. If you ask me if I had to choose just one, I would go with a consumer CRT, and PVM just something secondary, optional. Because there's nothing like I can say that if I play on a consumer CRT that looks bad, but there are some things that I play on the PVM that I don't like how it looks on the PVM. And I'm talking about 240p content. Now, there are games, for example, that I didn't like to play on the PVM for sure, like Super Mario World. They wanted to see here right now. This is on a PVM. It's from the other YouTube, so it won't be as perfect in terms of recording. Just saying, kind of a bit blurry maybe. This game by far I prefer it on the 14-inch consumer CRT TV. This is why I switched. Even this part, by the way, you can see this on the PVM. It looks so much better on the consumer CRT TV. So although right now I have the PVM for quite a long time, I'm playing many more games on it. I can definitely say from my experience for 240p that I would take a consumer CRT first, and then I consider if I want to have a PVM. But I wouldn't make a PVM my main TV. Unless it's a combination that maybe I can find a CRT that I want in terms of connectivity and so on. And even though I can connect composite here, not for all the games I like how composite looks here. But I cannot deny that it has so many advantages that just makes everything just easier to manage. Just being able to play, so many signals without having any issues, and great degree of control to control something if for whatever reason there is issue. Being able to play certain games that can be very long with very comfort because it's easier on the eyes. And some of the things that I mentioned, by the way, some people give them much higher priority that for just those reasons they would prefer going with the PVM and not going with the consumer TV. But it's very hard to say something, it's not black and white. There's so many different CRTs, so many different PVMs. So even then, with everything I said, I can't really say for certain. I mean, for me, I can say that definitely I wouldn't pick a PVM as the main screen. But for some, this might be a reason to pick PVM first than a consumer CRT. So it's important to say that depends on what you prioritize first. Thanks for watching.